This is No Tracers. This week, we're going to switch it up a little bit and talk to a rooftopper. Let's get into it. Step into the world of decay, abandonment, and chaos. The story of an urban explorer starts here, at the beginning. Welcome to the podcast you've been looking for all along. This is No Tracers. Here, we take only photos. We leave only footprints. And remember, leave no trace. Hey, what's up? My name's Kay. I am the host of this podcast. Welcome to the show. If you've never heard of this show, this is No Tracers. It's a show about urban exploration, exploring abandoned places, and this week I'm actually talking to a rooftopper for the first time, and I'm very excited about it. So this week I'm talking to a guy named Awalterss. You can find him on Instagram. His links are down below. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, all the same username, Awalterss with 2 S's at the end. This episode is super cool. His story is amazing, and his love for rooftopping and urban exploration kind of saved his life. And I think that that is super powerful and super amazing. It's a very inspirational episode. If you guys dig it, please leave a rating and feedback so that we can get more people to listen to this show. If you want to come on No Tracers, if you've got some stories to sell, DM me at No Tracers, no.tracers on Instagram, or contact at notracers.com. Before we get into the show, I need to thank Liquid Death Mountain Water, our partner on the No Tracers podcast. Liquid Death is a canned water company. They sell amazing, still sparkling and 3 flavors of water in aluminum cans. Fuck plastic bottles, honestly. Save the planet. Use aluminum cans. Yeah. If you guys want to give Liquid Death a try, go to liquiddeath.com and use code JUSTTHELETTERK for 10% off your order. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. And the last thing I need to let you know about before we get into this episode is that I have 2 photography books out and a merch line. NoTracers.com/shop. Go pick something up. Help support the podcast. And thank you for listening to No Tracers. All right, without further ado, Awalterss, please introduce yourself and how long you've been exploring to the No Tracers audience.
All right, my name's Awalterss. That's what I go by on all social media. And I guess I've been exploring for about 6 years now. Photographer for about 5 years of that.
Dope. So I usually have people on this show, just for full transparency, that explore abandoned places. But your story seems to be a little bit different. You seem to be more of a rooftopper and like a urban environment explorer. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I would say so. I definitely, do a lot more rooftops than abandoned places. I have, explored my fair share of abandoned places, but definitely not as many as some other guests you would probably have on here. But yeah, I guess rooftops would be more where I specialize in with my photography.
It's dope. So I actually found you because Streets of Toronto posted your photo from the baseball stadium. Is that what I was looking at?
Yeah. So that's the Rogers Centre in Toronto. That's the home of the Toronto Blue Jays, as well as hosts a lot of concerts and other events.
That's pretty crazy. So we'll get more into that, but I want to know first, how did you get into exploring in the first place?
Yeah, so since I was, pretty young, I always used to be into parkour. So, I would always be looking to just climb things and just explore my environment. And, I was always into that. I was always pretty athletic. I didn't really play many sports. I think I played basketball. I used to play soccer. I used to do that when I was a bit younger, but I was always into parkour, like flipping and just running around and climbing things. So, I did that for a while. And then it was actually my brother. I would say he's probably my biggest inspiration that I have in my life. And I'm not sure exactly the story of how he got into it, but around 2014 is when he kind of started like climbing roofs with his buddies and I think just to screw around, whatever. And he started taking photos, and he started because of my dad. He used to be a photographer as well, and he would shoot like events and a lot of family photos and stuff like that. So I guess my dad inspired my brother to take photos, and then he inspired me to take photos. And then I remember, I think it was probably 2016 is when it like really started. I would go out with my buddies and stuff when I was like a younger teenager or whatnot, and we'd just go to like the areas around us and climb onto the convenience store roofs or whatever, like through the fire escapes and the back alleys and whatnot. And we're just having fun. It wasn't really for anything, but to just look around and see a new vantage point of wherever we were at. And then I think in 2017 is when it really started, and I hit my first like skyscraper downtown. Me and my buddy went downtown once to just go take photos because that's when I got into photography. It was around March 2017. I had picked up my first camera, which inspired me from my brother taking photos. I wanted to start taking photos of stuff. Didn't really have like a specific passion for what. I just wanted to take photos. I remember I was out with one of my buddies who had a camera at the time, and he gave it to me. I just put it on full auto mode and was just snapping a bunch of portraits of him, and I thought it was really cool. So I talked to my brother because he's been taking photos for a few more years before me, and he helped me buy my new camera, which was a Canon Rebel T3, I believe, with like a kit lens or whatever. Got it for like $300 off Kijiji, and I just started taking photos. I went into a photo camp when I was like 15, maybe 14. And they taught me how to use like manual mode and stuff, on top of my brother teaching me things here and there. And from there, it just really sparked my interest. And yeah, but I remember my first roof was 2017 in the winter, and me and my buddy were downtown just screwing around taking photos, and we looked at this one building. We were like, oh, let's try to hit the roof, why not? I think it was like 50 stories or whatnot.
Wow.
And we get into the stairwell, we go up, and the door to like the mechanical room, I guess, the window was just completely shattered, just not there at all. So because this was in the winter, I had a big winter coat on, so I'd actually wrapped the coat around my arm, stuck my arm through the window, and I was able to open the handle from the other side,
Wow.
and just opened it up. And then the roof door was actually just wide open. So we got up there and we were up there for like an hour just taking photos. They aren't great photos; they're pretty shit. But that was the first time I really hit like a skyscraper, and it was just crazy seeing the downtown city, because it was pretty much central downtown. It's one of the most central like condos that we have in the downtown financial area.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy to see it from that high up with that vantage point, and not through just like a window, or like looking through like the CN Tower glass or anything like
Right.
that. Like it felt a lot more free and open. And it was just a really really life changing experience for me. And through that, I just started doing it more and more with my buddies. And yeah, I guess that's kind of where I had some ups and downs or whatever. I took a break for a while and then came back to it. But that was kind of like really where it started, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, one of my questions is, has anything ever made you want to stop exploring? So, like, can you talk about like why you took that break?
Yeah, so I think I have two answers to that question. The first answer would be like in more recent times, just the whole Instagram aspect of it. It's very like competitive. I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of people are always trying to like one up each other. And I feel like at the end of the day, I think the best thing we can do is just, we're all a community interested in the same thing. And I understand it's very competitive, and people can be very selfish about, spots and what people are hitting and all of that, and keeping it a secret. But at the end of the day, if someone's doing rooftoping or exploring abandoned places, of course we're not just going to like post all the information online, because then that'll expose it a bit too much. But if they're really in the game and all that, then I think we should all just like try to be friends. We're all interested in the same thing. We're all just looking to have a good time, take photos. Most people are. I mean, of course, there's the
Yeah.
few people that don't have that respect for the sport, but most people here are just really trying to take photos and hit roofs and explore other places, tunnels, abandoned places. So I think the Instagram aspect has really had me sometimes wanting to stop. But I've deactivated my account a few times just to take a short break. But the biggest break I took was in 2019. I don't think I really shot at all in 2019, except for maybe a few times, and it wasn't even roofs. It was just going out with my buddies to take some portraits or some projects for school or whatnot. But no, the main reason. So through 2018, me and my buddies, again, we'd go downtown and just hit random roofs, random hotels and stuff. Nothing crazy, probably like 30-story buildings, which in Toronto isn't that big compared to the other ones we have. But in 2019, I started to really get into some shit I wasn't really supposed to be doing. I was still kind of young. I was in high school, so I was just smoking weed a lot and doing some other stuff I probably shouldn't have been doing, and it really just I don't know, like it distracted me from my true
Mm.
passion, which I didn't realize at the time was photography. But so through all of 2019, pretty much that happened, and then it was like the middle of 2019, and I had like a really bad like experience with some drugs or whatever, and it just kind of changed my mindset, and it fucked me up a bit, and I didn't really know what to do or where to go, who to talk to, or anything like that. So I kind of just tried to deal with it myself through the second half of 2019. Then I remember in it was like December 2019. I remember I was just me and my buddy decided to go downtown, and we just were like, oh, let's hit a roof. We haven't done that in a while. We used to go to this like one kind of roof through 2019. It was more of just like a patio for the residents that lived there.
Hmm.
And we would like smoke up there and chill, and it had like a pool we would sneak into and all that. But yeah, so I didn't really actually like go out to like take photos or anything until end of 2019. We were out. We are like, let's just try to hit a roof for fun. So we went down to, it was like College Park area of Toronto, so it's like just a little north of like the central downtown core. And we had gotten up through just unlocked a door or whatever, and it just felt really like freeing. I'd felt like I was like, I wasn't in control of myself for a while after a lot of the experiences I'd gone through in 2019 with drugs and whatnot. And I remember just like sitting, dangling my feet off the edge of that roof, and just feeling like I had some sort of self control again,
Mm.
and that I felt really free, and I felt a lot better. And through that, obviously, I've always been interested in urban exploring and photography. So I decided to let's like keep doing it again, and I had some buddies who were happy to go with me. Um, and I still kind of smoked at the time here and there, so we'd go up and we'd smoke or whatever up on these roofs and stuff. And yeah, so I guess from there it like really started to like spark again, like the passion for it, and a lot more than it had throughout like the past few years. Like it really motivated me to get out and want to go explore the city, especially with all these new skyscrapers always coming up in Toronto, just getting bigger and bigger. Um, I just really wanted to get that feeling again, and I don't know if it was the adrenaline rush or whatnot. I feel like it was a mix of that and just something else, but just being able to look down and knowing that like one wrong step or sitting at the edge, like one wrong move could ultimately just kill you.
Yeah.
uh that gave me a lot of like self-control, and that feeling that I really felt like I had lacked for that most part of that year, and when I was in a pretty dark state. So that honestly helped me come out of that. And then through that, I picked up my camera again, and I'd started taking photos, and they weren't great again because I hadn't done it in a while, and I still wasn't a great photographer. But yeah, so I just kept going out, and then eventually my school buddies that I was doing it with just kind of got like disinterested.
Mm.
So I remember I reached out on Reddit and like Instagram and stuff to people, just looking for people to shoot with, and was able to get a couple buddies. One old buddy who had still been in the game for a while, who was my age at the time, or still is, and so I linked up with him and some dude I met on Reddit. And then one other Instagram photographer that I had reached out to a couple years ago, but I don't think we ever ended up shooting. And they turned out to be some of my closest homies I still shoot with to this day.
Wow.
And I just remember beginning 2020, literally every weekend, Saturday, sometimes Sunday as well, Sunday night. We'd just be downtown, just going to every building we can, just trying to go up, explore, take photos. And we did that until COVID hit. And then when COVID hit, obviously we couldn't go out. And that
Yeah.
was like middle of March. So I had kind of stopped. And by the time COVID hit, I pretty much quit all the shit I was doing. Like I had stopped smoking, I'd stopped doing about a bunch of other shit that I was still kind of doing here and there during January, February of 2020. And COVID honestly I think helped me a lot. As growing as a person and maturing. So through March, I was just on my PC, just playing whatever video games, not paying attention in class and stuff because there was
Hmm.
online school at that time.
Right.
And then I think it was like late May is when I was able to go out again. So I was just going downtown with my buddy and just started rooftoping again, and just kept going from there again. Like literally every now it was like the summer, so pretty much every couple days. If I look at my 2020 folder of photos, it's ridiculous. If I look in one of the months, there's probably like half of the month is in the folder. Like I was
Wow.
probably shooting at least every other day in 2020, and it was just I think it just really helped me grow. I was also hanging out with a bunch of people that were older than me, because I would consider myself pretty young to be in the scene,
Sure.
compared to other people who are in their like mid 20s, and especially when it comes to abandoned places, those people are typically, they can be 30s, 40s, some have
Mhm.
kids, all
Mhm.
that. Most rooftoppers in Toronto, I would say, are probably in their mid 20s. Um, there's a couple that are in their 30s or whatnot, but I would consider myself, pretty young to be in the scene. So, um, you know, hanging out with these older people, shooting with them pretty much, every day of the summer almost, helped me grow as a person and mature a lot faster. So I remember when I did eventually go back to school, I was just like, damn, why is everyone so like immature? Like it was just crazy to me, like how much I had grown through one summer of just hanging out with these people and having these incredible experiences and being able to take photos. And it was all, COVID was life changing for a lot of people, and I would say it was bad for a lot of people, and there were certainly the bad aspects of it, but I think for me it ultimately helped me more than it did negatively affected me, which was something that was nice, I guess, that came out of that.
Yeah. I think, COVID kind of did good and bad things for people, just depending on like who you were, if you were a creative person or not. I think for creators, it gave us a lot of time to create, and to really dive into our passions. So
Totally.
I'm glad that, it kind of brought you back to life in a way, brought
Oh,
your passions back.
absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely, yeah.
so what what is your most creative entrance into one of these places?
Oh, most creative entrance. Huh. I'd probably have to say there's this one like hotel downtown, and we actually had to. Um, the door was like deadbolted from the outside, right? So there's a window in the stairwell though. It was probably and the ceilings were super high in this one spot, and so the window was probably a good like, I don't know, 15 feet up.
Damn.
So we actually had stacked like two people. Like we had my buddy on his shoulders, and we were able to like somehow like pull ourselves up. So we had like two people, like one person standing on the ground bracing themselves, another was like sitting on his shoulders, I think. And then we actually had one more person climb up those two people to open that window. It was unlocked. Climb through this tiny window. It was maybe like a foot and a half high, maybe just like a foot tall. So he squeezed through that, and then was able to walk all the way around and climb up these staircase or whatever on the outside, and then open the door for all of us to just walk out, because there's
Wow.
no way we're getting 4 or 5 people through that window.
Yeah, no kidding. Dang, that's crazy. Like ants, just like using
Yeah,
each other to
literally,
like climb
literally,
into
yeah,
this
yeah.
building. That's
Yeah,
amazing,
yeah.
dude. Wow.
Yeah, no, that was super funny. But yeah, you definitely got to think of some creative ways to get on roofs, because I find with like abandoned places, there can be a lack of security
Yeah.
depending on where you are. I mean, of course, like the big houses
Right.
or factories or whatnot, there's definitely some security presence. But when it comes to the roofs, it's an active building, so they have paid security looking
Right.
looking for people like us, and trying to stop us, on top of like the cameras and the sensors, which abandoned places have as well. But it's
Sure.
definitely more prevalent in the rooftop scene.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think have you noticed that it's become harder to get into spots now?
Oh,
That with like the
absolutely,
rise
yeah.
of Instagram and, social media
Million
things?
million percent, yeah. With social media definitely blowing up the rooftop scene. It's bound to happen. I mean, there's really no way to stop it with this crazy influx and surge of people doing it all over the world. If you look back like 2014, 2015, 2016 is when it really started to blow up. But
Yeah.
2014, 2015 roofs would be, super easy from I've talked to people that used to do it back then, and seen stories and stuff, and roofs used to just be open. Hatch would just be unlocked, a door
Yeah.
would be unlocked, door would be open, and the security as well. They really didn't like know about that at all, so they weren't really looking for it.
Right.
And I think cities like Toronto and New York and stuff like that have really just blown up with the scene. There's hundreds of people, I'd say, that do it in each of these cities.
Mhm.
And with people, of course, bound to get caught. And on top of the fact that social media and the news is blowing it all up
Yeah.
over the past few years, you see buildings now that are being built with cams on the roofs. Like there's this one building that was just finished, and we checked it out as a site, and there's already cameras on the roof,
Wow.
getting like wired up and stuff, which you would never see like 3 years ago, even.
Yeah.
Except for maybe some of the big financial buildings, they might have some cameras and stuff already there. Um, but just a regular office 40 stories tall, like you would never really see a bunch of cameras on the roof. That's honestly something that I think has been influenced by that surge of rooftoping and urban
Mm.
explorer scene in the city.
Yeah, absolutely. It's wild to see the change that's been made, but I mean, I guess they don't want people on the roofs, but I mean, like that's not going to stop you guys. Like you love doing this.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think you just got to be smart about it. And
Yeah.
of course, sometimes we all make bad decisions. And even myself, I've made a bad decision here and there when it comes to getting on a roof or whatnot. But at the end of the day, I think it's really just a matter of like risk versus reward. And I think that you can look at that from two vantage points. A lot of people will just be like, okay, well, there's really no reward. Like the risk isn't worth any of the reward.
Mm.
But I would say differently. I think everybody has a different reason why they do this, and for me, it was mental health reasons, and
Yeah.
it made me feel a lot better and really helped me improve my state of mind. So I don't have plans to stop anytime soon. Of course, I don't go out every weekend like I used to. I've gotten busy just with life and all that, but it's never something I think I'll ever fully stop. I'll always be interested in exploring and whatnot. And I think no matter what security does, I think it's just whether or not like it's really worth it. Like if there's a camera looking at a door, are you really gonna try to open that door on the camera even if you cover it, or is it better to just like what? Why risk it? Just leave.
Mm-hmm.
It's just and that's something you don't see much in Toronto. There's of course the people who do respect the sport, and I'm not saying there isn't any of that. There's a lot of people that respect it in Toronto, but I've definitely seen a few people who just like throw all care out the window and really just are saying fuck it, who cares, and whatever, just fucking open this door on camera or just break shit, and
Yeah.
it's just it's selfish to them because then they're like they ruin it for other people, but as well as just like why ruin it for the rest of the community. You may have gotten up to this spot, but now you've just ruined it for everyone else. It's
Yeah.
like everyone's trying to do the same thing you're doing. Why be selfish about it?
Exactly. I mean, we've had some stuff in the abandoned community as well, like recently I went up to Detroit to film a boxing fight in an abandoned building. And we initially had one place that we were going to do this in, but one of the guys in the community actually went and padlocked the door himself. Like,
Wow.
why? Why?
Yeah.
Like, dude, we were getting like death threats. We were getting threats of other explorers saying they were going to call the cops on us, which is like the number one rule. Like, don't do that. Just
Yeah,
because
don't
like they
snitch.
didn't get invited. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the FOMO was so real. People were like, give me the spot. Like, where's it at? And we like switched up the spot last minute so that nobody would show up. And like,
Yeah.
it was crazy, dude. But I mean, yeah, we definitely deal with that kind of shit as well in the abandoned community, which I'm sure you know all about as well. Speaking of like risk versus reward, what would you say has been the riskiest or the most dangerous explore you've done?
Oh. I would say like I don't know about, yeah, I guess riskiest would work, but I wouldn't say it's a matter of like dying. Actually, no, it could be. I guess you could put it under that. But there's a super tall. It's like the tallest smokestack in Toronto, and it's called the Hearn, and it's actually an abandoned generating facility. It got abandoned back in 2002, and it has this big ass smokestack. It's like 700 feet tall. It's the biggest one in the
Wow.
city, and it's just on the harbor front, on east of the city. And we had gotten into the facility or whatever, pretty easy, nothing crazy. But there is, like I had mentioned earlier, security presence, and quite a heavy one at that actually for this facility. There's actually they have cars going around. Like we were on top of the smokestack, and we were looking down, and we saw like 3 security cars just doing patrols of the whole facility, just going around and around, which is crazy. It's just crazy to see how much security there is for just this abandoned spot. But we had gotten in or whatever, and as we're at the smokestack base, which is outside of the actual power plant, we were like rounding the. I get it's a circle, right? So
Mhm.
it's kind of hard. You can't really like look around a corner. It's
Yeah.
just like you're just going up, like we're really up against, like we're hugging the wall of the smokestack, and as we go around to where the door is at to get in, we see a security guard and another. Well, it's 2 security guards and a security car, and they were talking. One had the back face to us, and the other one was facing us, and they were like a good 100 feet away, maybe 150 feet away, and then about 200 feet away is the big security hut where all the security guards sit and,
Yeah.
and monitor or whatever and chill. So these two were talking like the parking lot by the smokestack, and we had about a 5-second window to actually get in to the smokestack, because I remember I was looking. My buddy was like, "Yo, I don't think we can do this." It's like he was just kind of risky about it. We weren't sure if we are going to send it or not. So eventually I just kept watching them, and I remember seeing one guard like turn his back and the other get into his car, and we had about 5 seconds to like quickly open the door and get inside and close it. And as I'm closing the door, I see the security car like come out from like behind one of the trees that was just like in the parking lot, and it's maybe like 50 feet away from it, and I was just able to close the door before I thought he saw us. So now we have this 700-foot smokestack basically in pitch black. There's lights on for the first maybe 100 feet, and then it's just pitch black. You cannot
Wow.
see a thing. So we climbed up really quickly to try and get into the dark, and I think we got up about like 100 feet or so. Just while we're sitting in the dark, we waited there for like 10 minutes, made sure no one was coming in or whatnot. And once we thought we were good, we just kept going up, and it was 700 feet of just straight pull-ups on a
Oh.
ladder. It was brutal. On top of the fact, it's been abandoned for 20 years,
So it's sketchy.
there's probably asbestos. The
Yeah.
ladder is pretty fucked up as well. So we had masks on. I had like a big ass respirator on that's used for like spray painting and shit.
Yeah.
So on top of like barely being able to breathe and 700 feet of straight pull-ups, and we were trying to catch like the sunset blue hour time.
Oh my god! So you're on a time crunch too.
We're on a time crunch too. We have like 20-30 minutes to get up this before it just gets pitch
Fuck.
black. So at like the 600-foot mark, we felt like we were going to throw up. Like we're dizzy, lightheaded. I brought a water bottle for each of us, luckily, so we were sipping on that. But I wasn't trying to take my mask off too much, because I had 2 other buddies who had went, I think like a couple weeks before us, and they told me they started to feel sick and stuff like a few days after they had climbed it, because they didn't have any masks.
Wow.
They weren't even prepared for it. They didn't have headlamps or anything. I kind of packed, knowing what we were going into, but not to the full extent. I wasn't really expecting that big of a climb. I didn't know how it would feel, but we had 2 headlamps each, which didn't give great light. I mean, they're pretty shitty, like Canadian Tire headlights, and we had gloves or whatever and the masks, but it was a brutal climb. I just remember getting to the top, and the only way to get out of it, there's like you don't sit on top of like the chimney. It's like there's like a roof cover, I guess, because there's like a big ass, like the smoke, like where the actual smoke comes out. There's like a big metal tube that goes down the middle,
Right.
where the actual like exhaust stuff comes out, and we were climbing around like the like perimeter of it on the inside. So when we get up, there's like a big like roof covering it, and the only way to get out is by climbing up this little ladder, and then actually like throwing yourself off the side of it, and then dropping down
Fuck.
to like a small little metal platform that just hangs off the side of this
Oh
700-foot
my God.
smokestack with like 4 metal bolts just screwed in. So it was pretty fucked. Definitely like one of the few times I felt like like nervous about standing on that. But
Sure.
no, that fresh air just hitting us in the face after 20-30 minutes of this dark asbestos filled chimney was such a great feeling. I remember we were up there for maybe like an hour and a half in the middle of like a thunderstorm as well,
Wow.
because we were hoping for some fog, which we kind of got. We got some fog blow through, but we actually We got up and it was good. We saw like a storm roll in, and we were taking our photos or whatnot during the blue hour sunset time. And then we climbed back inside and we just waited on the top there for like this like crazy wind and the rain to pass. And then like 15 minutes later, it kind of slowed down a bit. We got back out. And we were taking our night photos and stuff, and trying to take some look downs or whatever. And there's like a bit of fog left over, so it was just crazy. The wind was absurd at one point. Like it was honestly just an unreal climb. I've never climbed something like that before. I've done cranes, I've done roofs, and I've run through subway tunnels, but this was just undescribable. Honestly, it was
Wow.
such like a challenge on my body. I woke up the next day, I couldn't raise my arms. Like my chest and my arms were just fucking brutal. And I would consider myself a pretty healthy, athletic guy, but fuck, I lied in bed all day. I couldn't even move.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
brutal.
What, like, you're such a good storyteller that I like am envisioning this entire climb, like as you're telling it to me. That's amazing, dude. What a beautiful journey that must have been. And
And that was
like
incredible.
just an amazing experience for you to have. Do you have any bucket list places that you're like dying to hit?
I mean, in Toronto, the one building, the BMO building, I haven't done. That's like the tallest in Canada, besides from the CN Tower. But I don't
Yeah.
really count that as a building, more of just like a tower. But like actual like building wise, yeah, I would say like BMO and like this one. There's this one TD building with like a big spire on it. It's super iconic in Toronto. And yeah, definitely dying to hit that. But if I try to go up there, I'd probably just go to jail. So not really worth it. But maybe one day. I keep my hopes up. I never say anything's impossible. I always try to think of one day in the future, which is true. There's these some buildings like. I would never think to have hit, Scotiabank, which is the second. I don't know if it's the second tallest, maybe the third tallest, or whatever. Never thought I would ever hit that in my life, but eventually was able to go there. So that was incredible as well. I just remember once I got up, it was like it's 902 feet at the top,
Oh my
and I
God.
remember just the first like 20 minutes of being there, I didn't even take any photos. I just sat on the edge, just
Wow.
looking at this view of the city that I've never seen before. So high up, everything looks like a Lego set. It's
Yeah.
tiny. It was incredible. I just remember dangling my feet, just watching, and just feeling this feeling I've rarely felt when I go on roofs. So that was just incredible. But hopefully one day, I guess some of those buildings would be pretty cool. I do want to get out to New York as well. Was planning that at the end of the summer, but I was heading out to the East Coast for school, so I didn't have time to. My buddies went. The Chase To and Hipso. Those are my two like super close buddies I shoot with all the time, and yeah, so they went out, and I was planning to go out with them, but unfortunately, I didn't have the time to. So I'm hoping next summer I can get out there and shoot a bit because that would be incredible.
Yeah, that would be absolutely amazing. There's some crazy stuff out there. What do you hope for the future of urban exploring?
Um, my unrealistic hope is that it doesn't get much harder, and that the community will get better, and everyone will just be friends at the end of the day. But I know that's probably never going to happen. So like my more idealistic future would be just like it doesn't just end, which I don't think it will. I don't think like rooftoping scene in Toronto will ever just like cease to exist. I feel like people will always be doing it, and there'll always be new people, new kids and teenagers starting to do it. But again, with that growth, buildings just getting harder and harder with these new kids doing it, and maybe not knowing how to do it properly and getting caught really easily and stuff, then it'll just make the city harder. But my hope is that in 10 years, if I'm still living in Toronto, then I can just go up there with some buddies and chill, maybe take some photos like in the old days, I guess. But yeah, that's my idealistic hope. Things will still be doable without too much craziness. But seeing how new buildings are coming up now, I'm not too sure how long things will last without needing to get some crazy method to get up there. So
Right. Dang. Yeah, well, I mean, I hope, selfishly, I hope that the community improves and, all the things that you hope for actually happen, that it doesn't get too hard or too much harder, rather. And lastly, what is something you know now that you wish you knew when you started?
Oh, probably just like the general like rules, like the unwritten rules of urban exploring and rooftoping and stuff, especially in Toronto. There's a lot of factors that I put into play whenever I'm on a roof. I'm always looking for different exits. If security comes up one way, I have another way to get out and stuff like that. And I think back in like 2018 and 2020 and stuff, when I started to get back into it again, me and my buddies weren't really like paying attention to too much of that, which actually led us to being caught quite a few times in 2020, because we would just be going on a roof that's like super visible in the middle of the day and just stay up there for like half an hour and get caught by security. But we were a bit younger at the time. We were able to kind of play it off. So we never got into any like huge trouble. I've never gotten into trouble with the cops, which is good,
Wow.
and that's I'm trying to keep it that way.
Yeah.
But I haven't been caught in a while, like severely at least. I've had a couple close encounters or a couple escapes here and there, but I think only maybe like one escape this year alone. And compared to 2020, I was probably caught like a good like at least 5 6 times, which doesn't seem like a lot, but um, like when you're being dragged back into the lobby of a building by a security guard, that's not a great feeling to get 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
So, just being a bit smarter, I guess. I kind of I try to think things out a lot more thoroughly and figure out the best play of action. And back in like 2020 or whatever, I didn't really do that so much. But yeah, I guess just like having some more knowledge of like what to do. But I mean, to be fair, that only really comes with trial and error. So
Mhm.
without those failures, I wouldn't have as many successes as I do now. I don't think so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, during 2020, getting caught 5 or 6 times with the frequency you were exploring kind of makes sense.
Yeah, of course, every weekend or whatnot, you're bound to get caught a couple
Exactly.
times. Obviously, I don't shoot as much of that or shoot as much now, but if I was shooting every weekend, again, I'm bound to get caught a
For
couple
sure.
times typically. Sometimes guards don't even know you're up there. There's this one
Yeah.
instance where I was actually up on a roof with just a girl and we were just chilling or whatever, just showing her the view. And, super chill roof, middle of the night basically. No one can see us. We're just hanging out, listening to music, whatever, vibing up on the roof. And two security guards just come up and they didn't even notice us at first. Like they were like whatever 30 feet away from us, and it was actually a security guard, like guy and girl. They looked like they were probably doing the same shit we were doing, just going up to chill or whatever. And they came up, and then I remember one of them looks over at us and like gets like jump scared. They're like, "What the fuck?" And they like run over to us, and I saw them too. And I was like, as we're sitting on like the roof here, and I was looking over, and I'm just thinking, I'm like, okay, I just once they see me, like there's no point in getting up and trying to run right now.
Right.
I'm just gonna have to soak it. So I just waited for them to see me, which didn't take very long, and then just talked my way out of it. But typically, when you're with a girl, security just really lowers their guard a bit. Like if I'm there with like me and like three guy buddies, they typically get like a lot more upset than if I'm like me and a girl, because then like we don't look like we're doing much harm, which
Right.
we weren't. We weren't even taking photos. We were just hanging out on like a Friday night and just watching the city and stuff like that. So I talked him down from doing nothing crazy. Told him a bunch of fake stories about however we got up and that we lived here or whatever. I told him I was apartment like 3015 or some shit like
Yeah.
that, and they asked me how I got up. I'm just like, oh, all the doors were propped open with these little metal things and stuff. So the second I turned the corner, whatever, they were pretty chill too. Like they were kind of stressed at first, and then once I showed them, like I was just like apologetic, and I just acted dumb, like I didn't know I was supposed to be up there or whatever. They're like, you know how to get down? I'm like, yeah. So the second we turn the corner, we just start running once they can't see us, and we got out of there. But
Wow.
I think yeah, like obviously things like that, but back in 2020, I was getting caught more just because like security was getting calls or people were seeing us or whatnot.
Yeah.
But now if I get caught, I feel like it's more just bad luck. Like
Right.
that's that's like, I think the past like 2-3 times I've been caught has really just been luck. Like security comes up to do roof checks sometimes,
Hmm.
or security will just go up to chill, and we just run into them, which is just bad luck. But it is what it is. Can't really do anything about that.
For sure. Well, hey, thank you for coming on No Tracers and sharing these amazing stories with my audience. If people want to keep following your journey, where can they find you online? Drop your social media.
Yeah, so it's Awalterss, Awalter, and then two S's. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. I post the most to Instagram. Twitter, I'll drop some photos sometimes that I won't drop on Instagram. TikTok, I post videos here and there, and then YouTube, I post some videos as well here and there. And then my website as well, awalterss.com, which is coming out pretty soon. Brand new version of it. I'm working on it right now.
Hell yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of new photos up there from the past couple of years, so that'll be good. But yeah, no, thank you again for having me on. I really appreciate the invite, and it was great talking to you.
Sweet, dude. All right, that was Awalterss, a rooftopper. Little change of pace here on the podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If I'd love to have more rooftoppers on the show. I think their stories are so unique and so incredible, and that feeling he was talking about being free is really, really powerful. And the fact that it kind of like revitalized him, I think that's super special. And it's stories like that inspire me to keep doing what I'm doing and keep following my passions. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a rating and feedback. And if you want to come on the podcast, hit me up at no.tracers on Instagram or contact@notracers.com, and we'll get you on the show. All right, I'll talk to you guys next week for another one. Stay strong, keep enduring, go out, go explore something, and remember, leave no trace.